Okay, so we've understood to some extent or related to some of the problems that are chronic within, endemic within education. What is the potential solution? ABC state, I developed this solution because I was involved in education for 10 years as a teacher. And this is a way to improve relationships, improve collaboration, to develop the method by which students can become self-directed learners and student-led learning, and it improves social sensitivity. Now, I spend a whole, hour describing how this state works, how it works. Okay, it's actually pretty simple, however, and it's a method. Okay, so this is not a theory about things, it's a method that I did with students. But basically, it provides students with a way of understanding a language for them to understand how they're organising themselves. And the result is that the grade, A, B, or C, determines the state of the teacher. It determines the state of the teacher. And therefore, it determines whether it's collaborative versus performative, whether it's controlling, or the teacher's focusing on relationships. Okay, I'm going to very briefly describe what this is, but I'm going to try and keep it down to a couple of minutes. Okay, so when you actually address the students, it's very simple. All you simply say is, we're going to use this ABC state, and it's based on self-discipline. An A state class is where everybody has their self-discipline, including the teacher. Okay, and it means that you can do lots of different activities because I can trust the students to get on with it. Okay, and transitions are very fast. Maybe do 4 to maybe 6 activities in any one lesson. They're great lessons. Okay, a B state lesson is where somebody loses their self-discipline, but somebody else is kind enough and generous enough to point it out to that student, and it could be another student or it could be a teacher, it could be anybody, and they correct it. Okay, so they lose their self-discipline, somebody points it out and they correct it. It could be, not paying attention at the right time, dropping some litter, whatever it is. And then somebody corrects it, somebody points it out and they go, okay. And then they pay attention, they pick up the litter, whatever it is. A C state class is where somebody loses their self-discipline, somebody else points it out, and they continue. Okay, they continue. Now, when a student chooses to continue doing something which is detrimental for other people in the class, then the teacher is authorised by government to implement discipline, to implement sanctions upon the student, to remove that student from the class, to give them detentions, and even potentially to contribute to removing them from the whole school. Okay, so these ABC states refers to the self-discipline of each student, and yet the whole collective effect of that self-discipline. Okay, so it relates the individual to the collective with the data A, B, or C. This provides the language and the framework for the students to understand what's going on. In order to demonstrate ABC state, or just to try and keep it in our minds as to what it is, I'm going to simplify it with some images, some icons. Okay. The C state The C state is where students are organised rank and file. Okay. In order for everybody to move forward, they're organised rank and file. Okay. And also it fits to the idea of a linear sequence of a curriculum, a social insensitivity, performative script, and control. A B state class, however, has kind of different groups of people that know each other, that kind of engage, and there's a greater flexibility as to how they're engaging. Okay. However, collectively they still go forward and learn whatever it is that's meant to be required to be learned. But there's much more of an organic sharing, and it's a bit like murmuration, or in fact a bit like herding, where there's a little bit of bumping. As for example, if you see sheep running across a field, there's a little bit of bumping, or horses, or bison. Okay, there's a little bit of movement as they're like touching each other as they go forwards, especially for example when you're trying to squeeze through a gate. Okay, And that's what we're trying to do with education, is we're trying to squeeze the students through a gate of learning of some kind or other, whether they want to or not. However, this one's got a lot more self-control. Okay, there's a self-determination going on here, but also a collective assistance when people lose their self-discipline. And an A state class, okay, is a much more cohesion. Okay, and there's a social cohesive state where everybody's basically self-disciplined. Okay, and in fact, you don't even have to have a border around that. To actually represent that as a border is kind of a bit of a mistake. There is no identity beyond the individuals behaving in certain ways and the collective result of that. This is definitely named, class 3A in maths or something, whereas this one starts becoming a socially organic form, and A is an ultimately organic psychosocial form. Okay, so if you keep that in mind when we talk about the other systems, that would be useful. And if you keep it in mind for yourself, if you're going to look into ABC, state,